Chapter 15. What side of the border are we on? Remy asked, stopping to wipe the sweat from his brow. He would have thought they'd have reached a fence or resistance line, but they were in the middle of nowhere. He didn't know how heavily the border was guarded.
Still in Iraq?
French muttered, forging ahead. Still in hell and feeling more that way every minute as they hiked through the scorching hills. The mountainous terrain jutted up like soldiers, each one standing in Remy's way. Abandoning their jeep over an hour ago, Remy armed himself with weapons. Guns and knives were at the ready. Night vision goggles and provisions were in his pack. As they navigated the natural path that curved between the rock formations, Remy pressed his lips together to keep from swearing. He and French had volleyed back and forth about the sketches. How could Venom possibly be Jared Boyer? The man was solid army like these damn boulders. Neither French nor Remy could find an ulterior reason why Boyer's likeness was in the notebook. The villager had wanted his son back. To what purpose would he fill a sketchpad on the off chance that the right people should come along?
If Venom is Boyer, then he's responsible for the attack.
French said incredulously.
After all of these years of searching, he's been under my nose this entire time.
It looks like there's no if, Remy said. But I don't think we'll find him here. I saw him a few days ago at his house.
You did?
French glanced at Remy, suspicion clouding over.
What for?
Ava was on my tail. At the time, I still thought she was responsible. I reached out to Jared for information. French gave a low whistle.
I bet he was surprised you're alive.
No. David had arrived an hour before I did. Told him the story.
He probably shit his pants.
If he did, he didn't let on. French shook his head.
No, if he's killed so many people, seeing one ghost wouldn't faze him. You're lucky David was there. Boyer loves to hunt. I bet he's never bagged a ghost before.
I'm not that easy to take down.
Obviously, you're still here.
Jared Boyer, Remy muttered. I'll be apologizing to Ava until I'm 90. French didn't respond, but he quickened his pace. Remy silently cursed. He needed French on his side, and all he was doing was breaching the peace by bringing up Ava. The guy must be as lost as Remy when it came to her. They had to get Ava to safety. He just hoped she could defend herself until then. But if her jail experience was anything like his... No, don't think about it. Don't do this to yourself. Just find Ava and then bury the bloody bastards. Remy broke out into a nervous sweat. Fortunately, that fact was hidden thanks to the afternoon sun being blistering hot and him already sweating. He would find her. He would make everything right. His gaze lingered on French as they continued their journey. Remy would deal with him later. He wasn't about to flip a coin for Ava. She belonged with him. Unless she decided otherwise. That thought didn't sit well. A sound jarred him from his thoughts. He stopped and scanned the area. French, he hissed. Jeremy stilled, his hands already gripping the gun at his side. Above us, Remy whispered. They watched as a group of 40 armed men passed overhead. Some were dressed in SWAT, others in both local and Western clothes. Remy and French pressed back into the rock to hide. Do you recognize the group? Remy asked. They definitely stood out from some of the other militant groups and terrorists. Perhaps they were on their way to join up with one. It wasn't unheard of.
I can identify most, but I've never seen these guys.
They're heading the same way we are, Remy said. Let's follow them for a bit. French nodded and resumed leading the way.
Ava was supported by Nathan and Mikael, using them as crutches. They were much steadier than the rickety wooden ones she was originally given, but she still had to keep her injured leg bent and nearly blacked out on a few occasions from the pain. Thankfully, they didn't have much farther to go. If her memory was correct, they'd reach the tucked-away building in less than an hour.
How are you holding up?
Nathan asked. Fine, she said through a clenched jaw.
I can carry you the rest of the way.
No, you'll only wear yourself out. Save your energy for Boyer.
Tell me about him.
Nathan said, his shoulders tensing underneath Ava's arms. Ava let out a jagged laugh. I don't know anything about him. I only know lies.
Then tell me the lies.
I thought of him as my army dad. He kept an eye on us, always making sure we were okay. I thought we were close, but now I understand. We were nothing but eyes and ears for him.
How did you know about this place? Did he take you?
No, communications were down, but I had to get in touch with him. I tracked him to the building and found him as he was leaving. He said it was a terrorist storage facility that he was going to level. I never questioned him. A warm sensation that had nothing to do with the oppressive heat rippled through her body. She stilled.
What is it?
Natan asked. Ava scanned the hills. We're being followed, she said, wondering if her senses were accurate. Was Remy out there? Was he following them? She felt as if he was standing next to her. But he was taken by venom. By Jared Boyer. Oh, God. The puzzle pieces were starting to fit together, but not all of them. There were so many open holes that drilled her brain with possible scenarios. Natan gave an order, and the men surrounded Ava, guns aimed in all directions as their narrow gaze scoured the craggy hills. Tell them not to shoot. Not yet.
We don't shoot unless they shoot first.
That didn't reassure Ava, since Boyer wouldn't hold back. If he had Remy with him, they'd both be targets for Natan's unskilled family. Let me look, Ava said, nudging her way through but being continuously blocked by well-meaning protectors. Natan shouted and the men shuffled into position, taking Ava along for the ride. She braced herself between Natan and Mikhail, whose sunglasses were propped fashionably on the top of his head instead of where they were designed to be worn to cut the glare and make his aim 10 times better. Mikhail, give me your rifle, Ava said.
I'm using it.
I want to look through the scope. Mikhail handed Ava the rifle and took a step behind her. Did you just hide behind an injured woman? She asked dryly, spying through the scope.
You're not a normal injured woman.
With the scope, she swept along the ridges and dips where she thought the sound had originated from. There. She glanced up from the eyepiece, her heart racing. It's Remy. I don't see Boyer. Hold your fire. Did Remy escape from the Venom ship? Natan looked through his scope.
I only see an arm.
It's Remy. I know it's him.
I'm not risking it. The men will keep in position. Who is this Remy person, anyway?
Ava faltered. A friend, she finally said. Let me call out to him otherwise.
Otherwise what?
Well, he's the one who trained me. Just think about a bigger, scary version of me. Did Mikhail just shudder? That wasn't flattering, especially since she was over-exaggerating. Remy was like a giant pussycat. You just needed to know how to handle him.
Call him. I don't want unnecessary bloodshed, but I make no promises. My family comes first.
Remy and French pressed back against the rock wall. Remy knew his arm was exposed, but he couldn't squeeze into the small nook without evicting French. Hopefully it wasn't too noticeable. Only a trained eye should be able to pick him out against the gravelly hill. He regulated his breathing to help keep him calm against the rising adrenaline. Remy knew their presence was known, but he doubted the armed men knew anything else. He had seen them shuffling about, wondering where the enemy lay.
Remy?
French and Remy locked confused gazes. That sounded like Ava, Remy said. French nodded his agreement.
Remy? It's clear. They won't shoot.
Ava called.
Is she saying that under duress?
French asked. You tell me, Remy said. The Ava I know wouldn't.
No, it's probably clear, like she said.
Remy peeked out. What's my middle name? He called.
What's that supposed to prove? We know it's her.
She'll lie if she's under threat.
I wouldn't know. You keep changing your identity.
French laughed.
I think she's okay.
Yes, but who is she with? Is this the group that held her hostage?
If it is, they wanted Venom. Would it be a coincidence that we're all here?
I guess there's only one way to find out. Remy scrubbed his hand over his face. Life was always complicated when Ava was involved. He'd missed that. French walked into the open, hands in the air.
Don't shoot,
he called. Remy waited a few beats before following. Guns were still pointed, but Ava and another man were out in front. He didn't like the way the man was holding her. The jerk better remove his arms or Remy would rip them off for him. As Remy drew closer, he realized the man was actually supporting Ava. She had a thick bandage around her lower leg, oddly shaped as if splints were added. Christ, her leg was broken and she was out hiking. He quickened his pace, plowing past French. "Are you out of your mind?" he hollered. "You're out here with a broken leg?" Ava looked around her with a worried expression.
Stop yelling. Most of these guys don't understand English.
She turned to the man supporting her and whispered something. They were way too cozy and comfortable with each other. Remy felt his anger peak as the other nodded, keeping her close as he barked an order. It was bad enough that French might be involved with Ava, but this was unbelievably excruciating. He reminded himself that Ava was free, that she could be with anyone she chose. But this guy? While he looked like he was in shape, he also looked out of place. He didn't fit in with the band he was surrounded by. And what was with the dummy that kept staring down the end of his rifle with his sunglasses propped on his head? If these were the ones who had taken Ava hostage, it's no wonder they were now under her direction.
Hold!
The man warned Remy as he charged closer. As if he would, Remy thought. "What are you doing out here with a broken leg?" he demanded.
We're searching for venom, same as you, I would guess.
"How did this happen?" Remy flashed an accusing glare over to the dark-haired man.
Long story. I'm fine. Natan has enough pain pills to keep me set for the next few days.
Natan. Remy wanted to pound the smug expression from Natan's face. Remy reached out, taking Ava and shoving Natan to the side. Natan's eyes widened, but he stepped back, giving the signal for his men to stand down. "Are you okay?" he asked, his hands running down her arm.
You can stop checking for broken bones,
she said with a small laugh.
I only have the one.
"Did they hurt you? Tell me what happened." God, I was worried when the ransom video came through.
You saw the video?
We both did.
French said, having caught up.
But how is that possible? I thought Venom had taken Remy.
Remy shook his head, jerking his thumb in French's direction. Ava's eyes widened in realization. She launched at French.
You bastard! You knew the entire time. You blew up my boat.
Remy scooped Ava up into his arms. She was so enraged that she'd wind up hurting her leg again. And he wanted her close.
Put me down. I'm going to kill him.
He just wanted me, Remy said calmly. He didn't want you to get hurt. He was keeping you out of the picture because he cares about you. Remy had nearly spilled the L word, but that would have given him an ulcer to say.
I thought we were a team.
Ava snarled, taking swipes at French from around Remy.
We were, until I knew you were getting too close. You don't know when to back away to get reinforcement. You and Remy are like twins, both charging ahead. You were going to get yourself killed.
French ducked and blocked.
I had to keep you safe.
Ava crossed her arms.
I don't believe you. You took Remy and blew up my boat.
French raked his fingers through his hair, tugging at the ends before he tossed his arms up.
You were the only one who could get Remy onto a boat. I remembered how much he hates them. When he said that you weren't on the boat and after it was searched, I thought he was telling the truth. He's more stubborn than you are. I was sure he took off in the boat, leaving you on shore.
Ava glanced up at Remy for confirmation. He shrugged and said, French is more pompous than he used to be, but we've come this far.
Thank you.
French clipped. Remy glanced over at French, realizing that he was holding Ava and French was taking exception to it. What a screwed-up mess, Remy thought as he gently set Ava back on the ground. Were you on the way to find Venom? Remy asked. Ava nodded.
We're really close,
she said, biting her lip in thought.
Do you know already?
Yeah.
I still can't believe it's Boyer.
Neither can I, he said.
You can talk later. We need to keep going,
Natan said. Ava nodded to Natan. He gave an order and the band of merry misfits moved out. Ava held on to Remy and French as she hopped along. This was ludicrous. Even if the medicine was masking her pain, it still wasn't wise for her to be hopping around. You shouldn't take pills from strangers, Remy said.
He's a doctor. I trust him.
He also kidnapped you, Remy gritted.
Technically, they were after you. I was a parting gift.
Me?
You're the key to this.
Remy grimaced. Yes, he'd already found that out. He felt French's stare but ignored him.
Hang on.
Ava said, stopping them.
You're both too tall? I need Natan and Mikhail's shoulders.
Like hell she did. Remy bent down, giving Ava his back. Hop on, I'll take you.
No, you'll be worn out. I don't want you to get hurt.
We only have a mile or so to go, just get on, I'll be fine.
Brock!
Ava started to argue. It's Remy, he corrected. Get on.
Sorry, I've really been trying to remember, but when you irritate me, I forget.
We can talk about who irritates who on the way. Get on, he repeated. She hesitated. Get on now or I'll throw you over my shoulder. I guarantee your leg and bottom won't thank you. French took Ava by the shoulders and nudged her to Remy.
Stop being stubborn. You two will get us all killed.
Ava sighed and hobbled behind Remy, wrapping her arms around his neck. When he stood, she curled her uninjured leg around his waist. He tucked the other one under his arm, holding it next to him. French gave an annoyed glance at the pair and tromped after the group. Remy felt ill. He had only been thinking of Ava when he'd insisted on carrying her. He never once thought about French's reaction.
Let him be.
Ava said, her voice soft in Remy's ear. He's upset.
I've learned to deal with French's mood swings. He's merely annoyed at us. He'll be fine in a few minutes.
Remy followed, keeping the group close but still far enough away so that no one else could talk to them. French was speaking with Natan and... What's that guy's name?
Who?
Sunglasses.
Mikhail?
What have you learned about them?
They're Assyrian, and their cousin had a run-in with Venom. God, I can't believe Boyer is Venom. It just doesn't. It's not...
Remy felt Ava's huffed breath across his neck. Remy understood Ava's unfinished sentence, her frustration and hurt. How could Boyer turn on his own? How could he turn on the innocent? Is that why they're after Boyer? He asked. Are they looking for revenge?
Natan is hoping for an antidote, but I don't think revenge would be turned down.
His cousin is alive then? Remy asked. I had heard no one survived Boyer's experiments. Except himself, but he wasn't going to tell Ava that.
He survived, but I'm not sure for how long. Whatever drugs Boyer used aren't wearing off. In fact, he's getting worse.
How so? He kept his voice calm, but it rattled him to know the man was getting worse. Were the drugs still in Remy's system, weakening him little by little, eating away at his mind?
It'll sound crazy, but he keeps getting stronger. I had escaped and he found me. We fought, and I had no problems defending myself at first. But then he got better. It was like he was learning and improving.
Is that how you broke your leg?
He stepped on it.
And where was Natan? Remy clipped, targeting the soon-to-be dead man in his sights.
He was getting his ass kicked, too.
By the cousin?
It was like he didn't know Natan.
Where is he now?
Back at their base, knocked out on tranquilizers. I think Natan is planning to keep him asleep until they find an antidote.
Remy didn't want to say it, but he was sure there wasn't one. Boyer wasn't into saving lives. If he had been, there'd be more survivors. It made him wonder what had happened all those years ago. Why did Remy survive while the others had died? And why wasn't he affected like the cousin? But there was one question that ran a marathon in Remy's head. Why him? Boyer was a mentor, someone Remy looked up to. Why would Boyer choose him? Did he have no regard for Remy at all?
I think he has a crush.
Ava said, startling Remy. He glanced over at French, who was quick to look away. What? Remy asked, pretending he didn't hear.
French, I think he has a crush.
Yeah, I think you're right. It was pointless to deny something so obvious. Ava was a grown woman who could make her own decisions. Remy wasn't about to block competition just because he wanted her. She should be with someone who loves her.
You mean you know?
Of course I know. I'm not blind.
I didn't say you were, I just thought, well, it doesn't matter.
It mattered. It mattered a great deal.
It seems we have company. Boyer said, looking out a small window at the front. He held a large pair of long-range binoculars to his eyes.
That's the nice thing about this place. You can see unwanted guests before they see you.
He smiled. David glared. It was all he was able to do at the moment. His arms and legs were strapped to a metal table. His head was entrapped by a leather strap that slashed across his forehead, and a filthy gag polluted his mouth, cutting off his curses. How had he not seen this coming? But he knew the answer. David never would have believed it, even if someone had warned him. Jared Boyer was venom. He was the one who had injected Remy and then let him run wild in the desert with barely a marble left. And he got the jump on David.
I wasn't going to use you for my research,
Boyer continued.
You're not the specimen I look for. A little bit smaller than my usual picks. Not the perfect specimen at all.
Smaller? David didn't know which offended him more, being outsmarted by a madman or being called small. He already knew he wasn't perfect, but small? He wasn't small in the least. Maybe compared to Remy. But who wasn't when compared to him?
It'll be a shame you probably won't make it through,
he said as if an afterthought.
Only 2 have. And you know, for the life of me, I can't figure out why. I wonder if it has to do with seeds. Maybe they were harvested differently. It's enough to drive a man insane.
Too late.
Never thought you'd be here,
Boyer said, eyeing David.
I'm sorry about your wife. Pretty young thing.
He shook his head and returned to the binoculars.
Nothing like being a dad. You never know. One day my research will lead to great discoveries. Might even save your boy someday. Especially if he follows in your footsteps. Can you imagine it? Soldiers honed to perfection. Perfection. That's the key.
David struggled against the restraints.
Are you ready then?
He asked, turning his attention to David.
We might as well begin before we're interrupted. Had that happen once. Ava found me. Clever girl, I always said. But I turned her around in time. Well, not in time for the subject. Quite a mess.
David frantically thrashed, hoping for a strap to break or loosen. He screamed through the gag.
They're still a ways off,
Boyer said, crossing over to a steel table.
We still have time.
Boyer picked up a syringe and brought it over to David. A dreamy look cast on his face before turning to face David. In horror, David helplessly watched as Boyer inserted the needle into his vein,